Hey everybody, Pete Meyer, Motor Age Magazine, and we're in the workshop. Very special guest today. Very proud to welcome Mr. Skip Potter from the National Automotive Service Task Force. For those of you guys who don't know about it, well, it's been around a while. That's one of the things that we're going to try to change here. Skip, thanks a lot for coming out today and hanging out with us.
Hey Pete, glad to be here. Thank you.
Well, Skip, I tell you what, I mean, we tend to promote the NASTF and its functions, especially a lot of the informational websites that you guys host. So I'm just going to kind of turn it over to you and tell us more about NASTF.
Hey, good, thank you. And thanks again for inviting me. Yeah, NASTF, what National Automotive Service Task Force, we affectionately call it NASTF. It's a lot easier and a lot shorter on those phone calls.
Right.
But NASTF is a nonprofit helping techs get information, service information from the OEMs. With our SIR product, NASTF is able to assist techs in avoiding to send their customers off to a car dealer to finish a repair. And with our VSP registry program, the NASTF helps techs and locksmiths buy security codes from directly from the OEM websites.
Now I know that, and let's just go back a little bit on that, because I'm sure that now the SIR, what does that stand for?
SIR, it's the Service Information Request, and that's a service we provide to techs who want to keep their customer in the shop, like I said, not to send the car to the car dealer. It's kind of a last resort thing. So I think I had a slide about the SIR up there if you want to switch slides there. But the
there we go.
Yeah, the SIR, like I said, covers the OEM's ability to support the independent aftermarket, really, with service information and tool information and OEM tools. It's not a helpline. It's kind of a last resort when, the OEM assumes, and we assume actually, that the techs are professional techs, and they're going to have the right tools to service a vehicle, and they're going to subscribe to all the subscription services that are out there that are necessary to service whatever vehicles they're working on. But recognize at the same time that techs do run into roadblocks. Sometimes they're real, sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's a navigation issue on
Sure.
on the OEM website, and even after they exercise some communications with the OEM customer tech support, they still kind of feel like they're unable to complete the repair, and that's where we step in.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the last resort deal. I mean, for those who are watching that aren't familiar, access to the links for all the OEM service sites is available through both the NASTF site and through the one that we promote quite a bit, OEM1stop.com. So if you've gone through your aftermarket service information, and we all know that holes exist, you didn't get the answers you needed there, you went to the OEM site, or you went directly to the OEM site to begin with, maybe you didn't find what you needed there, or something wasn't clear, whatever, and you've gone through the OEM customer service, as Skip pointed out, to try to get that resolved and still didn't have any luck, well, that's where you guys come in.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah, if you go to the next slide, you'll see we get a lot of questions from techs who have not filed an SIR with us. So there's somewhere, I think, on one of these slides is a notice that the direct website, and this is what I think all techs probably should bookmark, www.nastf.org/file SIR. If you book that, you run into that those issues in the shop, right from the shop floor. Just go ahead and go right to nastf.org/file SIR, and you'll be able to then make that change or submit the SIR.
Yeah,
and here on the screen, what we've got is is a form. When you go to that website, you've got a form where you'll give us your basic contact information, enter the vehicle information, and then simply all we need to know then to go from there is what is the repair kind of in general that you're trying to do, and then what information is missing, and then finish it up by telling us what you've done already. I get some emails, people that don't submit the SIR, maybe they don't know that it exists out there, but I get many emails that people send to me and asking me some SIR questions, and I'm not able to forward those on to the OEMs. The agreement we have with the OEMs is that it will be an officially filed SIR. So what I have to do then in that is just respond back to the tech and explain to them that, hey, everything you asked me in the email, if you just kind of cut and paste and add the vehicle information to it and throw it up on the SIR, I get it, and I'm able to then forward it on right away.
Sure. And this is a big help, because if you have an issue, we try to put everything we can in the service information and make that available, but we're humans, and we're not perfect, so that if there is a hole there, this helps not only solve that tech's issue, but prevents issues for techs down the road.
You're right. Correct.
Yeah. Excellent.
So the next slide explains our VSP program. The VSP stands for Vehicle Security Professional, and how it works, Pete, is on the next slide. VSPs that are accepted into the registry, you'll see there, kind of on the left-hand side of the screen, is kind of the entry point for a technician, say, standing at his workbench. Enter the, once he's registered with NASTF, he receives a LSID, which is a lock and security identification number, and it's used to log into the OEM Security Tech website. So once a tech logs in and uses his NASTF LSID, it's validated against the servers, the NASTF VSP server, registry server there. At the same time, the VIN number of the vehicle he's working on is validated against the National Insurance Crime Bureau's website servers for their stolen vehicle history. And then the OEM will distribute the key code or the immobilizer software, resets any of that information that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to vehicle security professionals. So that's an incredibly valuable service, particularly in these days with, as we've seen, the security systems that are proliferating among new vehicles now.
Sure, and I got to say too that, I know as techs we don't like to have anything that's, making our work more involved or adding steps or time or whatever. But the reverse side of this is the guy that walks into a dealership and wants a key cut for a car and doesn't have to prove that it's his car, and next thing and it's probably not his car, right? I understand that this has not only had makes it easier for techs to access the information that the OEMs rightfully want to keep a close eye on, but it's also done a lot in reducing vehicle theft.
Oh, sure, it does. One of the things that we try to do is when we do background checks on someone applying for an LSID. Well, let's go to the next slide, and I'll
Sure.
kind of because one of the most common questions we get is, in fact, I've had two of them this morning already, how to become an NASTF vehicle security professional. First of all, we attempt to qualify the professional and make sure that they are a professional with a need to know on security issues. We conduct a background check on the applicant. The company, the master license goes to a company that has $1 million liability insurance and $100,000 fidelity bond. So typically you're not going to get a non-professional that's just going to apply for this and try to use it with their neighbors' cars and things. So,
Sure.
It's the cost of the LSID to get into the VSP registry is $375 for 2 years. And then we send out the renewal notices by email at near the end of the 2 years, and they renew for another $375 for 2 years. For some companies that have more than one locksmith or security technician that's among their staff, there is an accommodation to sell a 2-year sub-account for that license, so that an individual working for a licensed company can then get a 2-year license of their own LSID number for $100. Mm-hmm. The car companies, the OEMs, really want to try to minimize the security threats that are out there surrounding the theft of vehicles. So there are code brokers out there that technicians are currently using, and the OEMs are really uncomfortable with the existence of code brokers. So NASTF is one way that that they are trying to change how the security codes are distributed.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you, Skip, if you know, I know some manufacturers, there is security coding in other modules other than those strictly dedicated to immobilizers. Let's just say, like for example, a powertrain control module, and a technician has to go in and perform a flash, and he cannot access that information, from the OEM website. Does this program help in that regard as well, or?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, we're finding we're getting more and more. The VSP registry program kind of started by the need for the locksmiths, but nowadays a greater number of collision techs and transmission techs, particularly, and those that service old Mercedes, the theft-related parts program that Mercedes have, they've agreed to sell those parts in most cases to VSP, NASTF, VSP registry people that they can validate.
Sure. Well, that's great.
I've told you about the SIR product, and I've told you about the VSP registry. Those are 2 products of NASTF that really grew out of a need that was identified at the committee level. And I would say, here's a list of our committees on the slide there. The Service Information Committee that produced the SIR, and the Vehicle Security Committee that produced the VSP program, they continue to meet and generate discussions between the OEM service support people and the independent technicians, so that this is really unique. I think this is the unique position of NASTF. We're the only organization where brings together that independent, non-franchise technician and the OEM executives with service operations with the express intent of solving today's problems and looking at what's coming down the pike for tomorrow, to build the system so that they can get the cars repaired efficiently and effectively and securely, the OEMs have a great interest in supporting the independent technician, because as you know, particularly after the last couple of years when a lot of the franchises were cut way back, we get calls all the time here in the NASTF office where someone's working on a vehicle and the nearest dealership, it may be 300 or 400 miles away.
Wow.
So, it's just not convenient for the customer. The OEMs know that, and they're supportive of the non-franchise technicians. Their franchise agreements obviously are with their franchise agreements, they're obviously able to better control the distribution of the service information between them and their franchise dealers. But since it's critical that in order to have happy motorists out there driving their vehicles around so that they'll come back and buy another one later on, they realize that supporting the independent aftermarket is going to be critical to their customer satisfaction indexes.
Yeah, and I think a large part that is due to the work of NASTF and the volunteers, that are on these committees representing the independent shop. I mean, they're coming to realize, some more than others, as you mentioned, that the main thing is making sure that their product is being serviced and repaired correctly, so that their end user, their customer, doesn't have an issue and decides that they're going to switch manufacturers when it's time to buy a new car. So hats off. I think you guys have done a great job to help bridge that information and tooling gap.
Yeah, the committees are an amazing core of what NASTF does. Solutions arise from the work of our committees, and most of their work is done by email and conference call.
If you have anybody out there that wants to become more involved or find out more about becoming involved in these committees, who should we reach out to?
I would just send me an email. Our committees are always looking for volunteers that have something to add to the discussion. So anyone who feels like they've got an interest in any of those committees, we are always interested in hearing from techs around the country so that we know and we get the right people involved in these committees.
Absolutely.
Some of the committees have 30, 40 people, 50 even, that participate in those solutions. So there's a lot of expertise that's out there shared between the OEMs and the independent technician. Now the next slide, Pete. One of the situations that NASTF faces is that there's a misunderstanding that NASTF was involved in the right to repair legislation. The fact of the matter is that NASTF is not a political activist. It takes no position on federal or state legislation. Certainly the members of the board and just the general participants, the technicians who are out there, may have opinions about right to repair or any other kind of legislation that might be pending in their states or at the federal level. But the fact of the matter is, NASTF is a technical organization, and we're going to do what we do, whether there's legislation or not. The vehicle security program, the tool matrices that our tool committee is working on. We're working on some education, trying to build some education matrices that will help OEMs get their educational resources down into the independent aftermarket, outside of their dealer channels. So there's a lot of initiatives that take place in those committees we were just talking about. And those issues and those solutions, those discussions are all regardless of what happens with legislation. The fact of the matter is that the vehicles are highly technological today, and that's going to become more and more of a challenge, not less and less. So NASTF has a role to play in all of that. The next thing I want to talk about on the next slide, back in October we introduced a technician outreach because one of the situations we had was we knew, like for right to repair, the issue on right to repair, where NASTF was misunderstood or even unknown to many technicians. So it was our board of directors was very focused on trying to spend the next, whatever time it takes for us to improve the awareness of NASTF out among the technician base. So one of the very first things we did was decide to organize this outreach campaign. And what that means, outreach to us now means that we want to go meet the technicians where the technicians are going to be. So for 2013, we're looking to we have a general meeting twice a year, one in the spring and one in the fall. We're going to take the spring meeting to Vision 2013 in Kansas City. I think most professional technicians know about Vision. If they don't, they certainly should find out about Vision. It's an incredible educational program that takes place, put on by the ASA chapter in Missouri, Kansas, and they get 2,500, 3,500 technicians out there attending. I guess 100 or so technical presentations and education programs. So it's a phenomenal program that technicians know about. So we want to be there. We'll be out there. March 8th is when that is, Friday, March 8th for that. In the fall, NASTF will have their general meeting in Las Vegas in conjunction with the Apex SEMA show out there. And we're still working on the date and the time of that, but we at least know that we're going to be out there during that time frame. Another part of the outreach program is that we want to get technicians to know about and to use our website. In the fourth quarter of this year, I was just looking at the statistic yesterday, we had 8,000 visitors, more than 8,000 visitors on our website this last quarter, and 41% of those were new visitors to the website. So we are beginning to reach out and become better known to the technicians who are out there in the population. One of the way for a technician, obviously, to get connected with us, it's free for a technician to sign up with us. Obviously, there's a cost for the VSP registry.
Sure.
But just to be participating with NASTF, technicians can go to our website and sign up for our newsletter. They get into our database so that I know who they are, and when we have announcements to make about meetings or whatever else is going on, some OEM news, then they can get an email from us, and we'll know what's going on from NASTF, at least, just by signing up for us for free. Now, one of the things that could be an exciting reward for those U.S. techs that might enjoy NASCAR collectible, if you go to the next slide, here's a picture of mechanics wear gloves that were what they call their Patriot Edition. Last summer, Mechanics Wear released this as a part of a fundraiser that they did with NASCAR. And Leonard Wood, who what NASTF calls the first fastest American mechanic, Leonard Wood's going to be inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Wow.
In February 8th in Charlotte, North Carolina. So NASTF was able to get a pair of these gloves and had the first fastest American mechanic, Leonard Wood, actually sign these. It's in a shadow box frame and would look good over the top of most toolboxes, I think.
Yeah, I bet.
So any of the techs who attend Vision, we will take registrations for the glove drawing, which we will do after Vision on Monday, March 11th. We'll do that official drawing, and the techs that can't get to Vision, I encourage them to go on to the NASTF website, and when you sign up for the newsletter and you sign up for NASTF, what we call participation, as part of the process, there's a question that says, what are your interests? And that's where there's an interest there called, I think it's Leonard Wood glove drawing. So you just select that as an interest, and then you're automatically entered then because of that.
Yeah, cool. So need not be present to win, right? There you go.
Need not be present to win. No, no. I will say though, NASTF, we have participants from around the world who are part of our NASTF database. But what NASTF does, the SIRs, the VSP program, and in fact this glove drawing are limited to professional technicians employed in the United States. So there is kind of a qualification there to make on all of the NASTF programs. We cooperate worldwide with a lot of technicians, and certainly the OEMs on their websites, they may individually have programs to be able to help the technicians in other countries, but for NASTF, at least, NASTF is a USA only service for professional technicians.
Right. Focus on techs right here in the United States.
Yeah, yeah. So that's that's our technician outreach program, Pete, and I think if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask me, go back on and cover anything. I'm anxious to answer whatever curiosity you might have.
Well, Skip, I really appreciate that, and I think that, of course, we're well familiar with all the hard work that NASTF does, and the committee work that's going on, and the resources that hard work has made available to the independent shops. But as you said, the outreach program is probably the single biggest thing that we're excited about for the coming year, because there are a lot of guys who don't know and don't know these resources are there to help them fix those cars, keep them from having to pull their hair out, that there's somebody's got their back. So guys, check out nastf.org, or we'll put up Skip's email address and give him a flood of emails for any questions that you guys have that you want to ask. Don't forget to go to the website and sign up for that participation membership. Again, there's no cost, and that way you'll be informed of everything that's going on at NASTF. And by all means, if you're going to be at Vision or Apex, make sure you go by the booth, say hello, register to win the gloves, and get all the information you need on all the resources that NASTF brings to bear. Skip, thanks so much for spending some time with us this morning. We appreciate you taking the time out to share this information with us.
Yes, thank you very much, Pete.